Hey guys, this is Shayan and today we're gonna talk with another CP legend, Adamant. Hello, Adamant. How are you doing?
Hi everyone, pretty good. What about you?
Good. I also feel very good. So honored to have a chance to interview with you. Uh, what is your full name, first of all? What should I call you?
My name is Oleksandr.
Right.
That's a Ukrainian name. Like in my native language, people often use some diminutive versions like Sasha or something like that.
Sasha.
Probably in English, probably Oleksandr is fine.
Alexander, right. But in Russia they call it Sasha?
Mostly yes.
Interesting. So you're 28 years old right now, as you said in your blog, right?
I'm 27.
27?
Yeah.
But in your blog you mentioned that you're 28, I think.
Wait a second. Am I? Yes, I'm 28. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey in life in these 28 years?
28 years. Well, that's quite a long journey. More than a lot of active competitive programmers right now, I suppose. So I was born in 1996 in Zaporizhia. That's
Right.
a medium-sized industrial town city in Ukraine. I spent there until I was around 18 years old. I participated in some mathematics and physics and astronomy and informatics Olympiad a lot when I was a school kid. After that, during school years, I also participated in national level Olympiad in astronomy in 10th grade and also in informatics in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade.
Right.
In 11th grade, I also qualified to national team selection camp, but unfortunately, I didn't make it into the II team.
I see.
The selection was quite successful at that time for me, and after that, I started studying in Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology. So I went to another country, to Russia from my hometown. There I spent another 6 years doing a bachelor's degree. I also participated in competitions a lot in also competitive programming websites like Codeforces that are still around, Topcoder, which is not around that much, Parkerant, which is not around at all.
When you started,
it's still around.
when you
Yeah.
started Codeforces, I mean, what is your age at this stage?
So I think for Codeforces, someone from national Olympiad team from my hometown mentioned it to me when we were at the national Olympiad in informatics. That was in my 9th grade, so it's around, I don't know, 16 years old. Maybe.
I see.
16.
I see. So how you got familiar with this Olympiad? You know, it was very interesting when you said that you were participating in astronomy Olympiad as well, because I interviewed with Omnik and Ors. Omnik was participating in IFO, Ors was participating in IMO, and it's interesting that you also participated in astronomy Olympiad. Everyone in some different Olympiad. It's very interesting.
Well, it's it's not international level Olympiad, it's just national Olympiad in astronomy. I didn't qualify to international team, but I think generally talented kids in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, in Russia, they tend to participate in all the subjects, or maybe all technical subjects, so they often participate in mathematics, physics, and all the related stuff.
I see. And what happened after that? What happened after your high school? Then what you did? What happened after your high school? What happened in your life after that? What did you do after your high school?
Yeah, so after my high school, I got into Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology. It's one
So
of
you went to Russia?
University. Yeah.
So you went to Russia? You went
Yes.
to Moscow? So in high school you were in Ukraine, right?
Yes, in Zaporizhia.
But okay, for university you moved to Russia, to Moscow. I see.
Yes,
Okay.
happens sometimes. It's not a choice that other people from Ukraine would approve of, I suppose, but
I see.
it just so happened. I had some friends from my town going to this university before me, and also at that time I was more comfortable speaking Russian than Ukrainian, so it just happened that I went to a Russian university at that time.
I see. It is very interesting why there are so many people in that region, in Russia, Ukraine. I have interviewed 3 people, they are all related to that. Omnik is originally from Russia, Ors is from Russia, and you also are from Ukraine. In why there are so many talents in that region?
I think generally people need to be, well, there are a few reasons. First of all, there is much more support from the government and Ministry of Education on all these events, because like historically, as it was in Soviet Union, it was important for them to showcase that their education is superior to Western one, so they wanted to train their students as much as possible, but so they go to international contests, and then the Soviet Union as a whole can claim that they're better than those guys who got worse scores. This is one reason. The historical support of all the competitions from the government side. Another reason, I suppose, is that that region, it is relatively poor on one hand, but on the other hand, technical jobs are usually they can provide you a salary that is like 10 times higher than your median salary in the country. So it makes sense for more people to try going in that direction, and also companies there are more aware about again competitions. Like in Western countries, I feel like companies are typically more focused on something industry related. Like they wouldn't look that you participated in competitions. They would look how much you contribute on GitHub, for example. So how much actual work experience you have. But in Eastern countries, traditionally, they often are more concerned about your. Well, not more concerned, but they take it into account whether you have some achievements in program competitions.
I see. So you believe the main reason is that the schools there are very interested in the education of the students, and they really provide a good situation there for various reasons.
Not necessarily schools, but at least
from government.
Yes, so in Russia there are a ton of different Olympiads for talented kids, a ton of training camps. Like they have a famous summer computer camp or summer computer school or something like that, which is a camp for all the talented kids, and all the great stars of competitive games from Russia go there to teach kids. So I think it's very well organized on that level.
I see. That's very interesting. So another difference that you mentioned was that in that region, companies care more about this stuff compared to Western countries.
Mm-hmm.
I see. What is the reason for that? I mean, how the situation is different there. In there, for example, if you participate in IOI, that is more important compared to Western countries.
It may depend on particular country, but I feel like people who advocate for competitive programming in the industry, they are more active in the Eastern world. Like there are basically more competitive programmers overall. So like there are a lot of competitive programmers in Yandex, for example, and they can advocate internally for great inclusion of other competitive programmers, and also and maybe some coaches have better connections to the company, so they have some established network, and they can advocate for companies that competitive programming is important and should be supported.
I see. And do you think that maybe people in that region are just generally smarter than other parts? For example, like also the same thing happens in, for example, East Asia. They are also very talented. Do you think that it might be also the fact that they are smarter?
I wouldn't, like, I wouldn't say smarter, but maybe more competitive. Like they're more inclined to go in that direction. Like it's not because people in Western countries are less smart than people in Eastern countries, but it's more like people in Western countries, they are more focused on achieving some specific industry-related things. Like if they want to have a job in software engineering, they would go to do software engineering, not computer science applications.
I see. Yeah, but yeah, this is very interesting, especially in ICPC, in IMO, in IOI. Most of the great ones are from Russia, Ukraine, or Eastern countries like China, Japan, etc. Okay, I see. So, what happened after university? Then, what did you do?
Yeah, so I spent 6 years in university doing a 4-year bachelor degree. So which means that I had to gap years. So basically, I repeated 2 years at university because it was very challenging and I had some family-related issues. And after that, in university, I had several internships. I think like 2 internships in Yandex and also 1 internship at Google. And after that, I joined a Berlin-based company named ThinkCell. It is a company focused on developing some PowerPoint add-in that enables people to create some automatically layouted charts in their PowerPoint presentations. And there I was working on something called Color Scheme Picker Dialog, which is basically a dialog that lets you to customize a color scheme for your first slide. I spent around a year. After that, I joined Google in Munich. It was a team that was working on Chrome OS and its integration with a Chrome browser. I spent there around 2 years, I think. And after that, I joined a biomedical informatics research group at ETH Zurich as a software engineer, and this is where I am now.
I see. So your working was mostly in software engineering, right? I mean, what? Mm-hmm. I see. It is very interesting, especially I believe most people are interested about working at Google. How was working there? I mean, where you were located then?
I was in Munich, but it was COVID years, so soon after joining, I transitioned to being fully remote. So I also worked for some time in Dortmund for around 3 months, and also for around half a year in Berlin. So I moved around Germany a lot.
I see. How was working at Munich? I mean, in Google, how does it work? I mean, how do you operate? How many hours per day you work, etc. And how do you see that experience? Did you enjoy it, etc.? Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Well, yeah, generally I expected to work around 8 hours a day. There is no fixed schedule, so you just start working and working whenever you feel like it, but you also need to attend some meetings. Like there are weekly meetings with the managers, there are also weekly meetings with the team, and some other meetings might also be there depending on your team and role. So I was working on some components that to be honest, didn't find particularly interesting because I really like some mathematics and algorithms and data structures, and what I was working on in Google, it wasn't related to that at all. It was mostly related to something that is industry is interested in. For example, I managed a migration of some component of Chrome browser that enables the usage of smart cards. And in Chrome OS, there are like 2 internal instances of Chrome browser. One is so-called Chrome, which is integrated into the Chrome OS itself, and another one is called Lectros, which is supposed to run in Chrome OS the same way as it runs in any other operating system. So basically, without the side integration with the operating system itself that Chrome had. And there is a continuous effort to transition stuff from Chrome to Lacrosse Chrome. So, and I was doing this in particular for the stack of smart cards, which is mostly something that is needed for some business customers that use smart cards to unlock their Chrome OS laptops.
I see. And between all the places that you worked, which one do you like the best? Which of these job opportunities you enjoyed the best?
I would say that I really like my current workplace at ETH Zurich. If I compare it to all the other places that I worked at, probably the only downside is that salary is not as competitive as in industry, but at the same time, I really enjoy the work itself. Like, it involves some data structures. So I work here on a project called Metagraph, which is basically an effort to use a deep learning graph to structure some data about genomic sequences at population scale. So basically, they have really a lot of genomic sequences represented by the sequences of letter A, C, G, T, and they structure them in a graph data structure of if you in competitive game, you sometimes need to construct so-called deep learning sequences, where that is a sequence that contains every possible subthing of landscape. And what you do for this is you create a graph where each vertex corresponds to a particular sequence of landscape minus one, and then you draw transitions between these vertices so that you append one letter to the end of the thing, and you remove one letter from the other end of the thing, and then you need to find an Euler circuit in this graph to find the deep learning system.
I see.
So, and basically they use the same data structure, but to study genomic sequences. And I think it's really interesting in theory. They also use some application of suffix series and various video transforms on this deep learning graphs. And I really like that there's a lot of applications of single algorithms. I really enjoyed single algorithms in competitive programming, so it's really cool to work with them in my actual job as well.
That's very interesting. Do you have any advice for people who want to work and do what you did? For example, there are, for example, many people who want to have a job at Google, for example. So these are the things that you have done before in your life. Do you have any advice for people who want to do this?
Well, it depends on what their struggling is in the interview process. Like, for example, for me, the most difficult part was probably getting past the initial CV screening, because it's I'm not sure how it's done exactly, but I feel like they throw away most of CVs, and only really a small percentage of them gets to the actual stage where somebody gets to talk with you. And for that, probably I feel like having some actual work experience helps a lot. The stage is very focused on this. As for the interviews themselves, I think that for competitive programmers, it shouldn't be hard at all to pass the coding interviews, because there's also division 2 level problems. Mostly, probably it's good. It would be a good idea to practice a bit on your code style, because what people do in competitive programming competitions, it's a bit of a mess. It's really hard to read, and they don't put spaces between the operations. They use one letter named variables and such. Probably something that wouldn't be approved by an interviewer. Other than that, I think competitive programmers it should be simple for competitive programmers to get past technical interviews. And then there is also typically, if you get not for internship but for a full-time position, you usually have a so-called Googliness and leadership interview. I also struggled with this kind of interviews a lot when I interviewed before that at Google and Facebook, because they often have some kind of behavioral questions which asks you to tell a story about something that happened in your life, like tell a story, tell about how you had a disagreement with a colleague. And also, if you just graduated, it would be difficult for you because like you don't have a lot of work experience and you might not have a story to tell. But then you're expected to tell something because you don't interact with people if you if you have nothing to tell about it. So it probably would help a lot to before going to that interview. I usually don't prepare for technical interviews, but before this behavioral interview, it makes sense to go over your life and think about some interesting events that happened in your life, about some disagreements or some work projects when you actually interact with other people, so that you would be ready to present some kind of story that actually happened in your life. Also, I think some people just come up with stuff that might not particularly be true. I wouldn't do it, but some people do, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just wanted to have a short break in the interview and mention to you something that one of my friends, Erfan, wanted me to do. There is this startup in Silicon Valley funded by 2 Stanford alumni. One of them is my friend Erfan. They're building generative AI models for world's largest company. For example, any car that you see outside, like Porsche, Ferrari, or BMW, this company is helping them and contributing to the tools that they use. They have an amazing team with ICPC participants and Olympiad medalists, and still they're looking for amazing engineers like you. So if you want to contact them, you can use the email below or visit their websites and send the email to them. All the links are in the descriptions below.
Yeah, interesting. So you think that there's interesting thing that you mentioned. So you think that competitive programming also helps you to pass some steps of these interviews, and that leads us to the next question that is asked from Wazif in Codeforces. He says that what correlation have you found in competitive programming and software engineering as being someone who worked at Google? Which is better to have, good algorithmic skills or good software engineering experience?
I think my competitive experience helped me a lot at my current job, because I already have this mindset to work with graphs and string algorithms. And also I use something that could be also useful in competitive games. For example, I implemented something similar to a bit set recently in for one of my projects, and also generally in this kind of graphs, you often work with bit sequences. So stuff that you do with bit sequences in competitive game is helpful here. But this is a job in academia, so it is likely that we would need this in an academia job if you work in particular in a research group that develops data structures and such. In industry, I feel like it's not very helpful. At least I think it wasn't helpful at all for me in my Google job. It was a bit helpful in a single job, because they also had something mathematics related to this called scheme picker dialog. Like they had if you look into how color theory is structured, like you will find that there is a lot of interesting mathematics there. So there was some geometry, so you needed to integrate some stuff or some segments to compute the distance in the color spaces, and there was a transition between RGB and HSL color spaces, and it was a lot of mathematics, and also you could use something from your competitive experience to leverage when you work on in that area. But for Google, I think it may depend on your particular team. Like maybe it would be more useful to have some competitive experience if you join, for example, some team that works on machine learning. But then also it would be more beneficial to you to have some experience in machine learning than competitive games. So from my perspective, you should go there as a software engineer. it is unlikely for basic again to be helpful beyond the stage of technical interviews. Maybe at some stuff that you generally, like if you have experience with competitive again, you would be predispositioned to think about some edge cases, and it may be easier for you to identify some bottlenecks in your code, but then I think in most teams you don't even care about performance that much, at least in a way that you think about it in competitive again. So from my perspective, it's not very useful to have a competitive again experience if you go to work at big tech, like in Google or some similar company. I think maybe it's more useful in some trading companies, like Transit and such. Probably they're more inclined to use some mathematics, and also if you go to there as a software engineer, there might be more applications for you to use from your experience with data structures, and maybe some constant time optimization, like the stuff that people do online with auto vectorization stuff and optimizing cache. Some people do it for competitive again too, and this experience may be helpful if you go to some trading companies as a software engineer.
You also mentioned that you are an organizer of OCPC competitive programming camp. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
It's actually OCPC.
OCPC?
OCPC.
OCPC. I see. OCPC.
Yeah.
So, what is it exactly? I mean, what do you do there?
So basically when I started in MIPT, I participated in some programming camps a lot. Like there is this famous Russian programming camp in Petersburg, which happens twice a year. There were also programming camps organized by a Moscow workshop, which is based in MIPT itself. So I had like 4 programming camps or so in a year. I think it was really exciting experience for me as a participant, and also wanted to continue doing and being part of this stuff after I graduated. So for 2 years after that, I continued participating in Codeforces just on my own. So I go to some veterans like FFT or TOG or some other people, and we organized as a team and participated in Codeforces in 2021 and I think 2022 too. But after 2022, when the Russian invasion of Ukraine happened, I felt like it wouldn't be appropriate for me to participate in Codeforces camp anymore.
Right.
And I also assumed that it would be the case for a lot of teams from some other regions, like from Europe. And but I still wanted there to exist some camp for myself and also for other people who might be interested in this to participate. So I just went to Discord and wrote like, "Hey guys, let's organize our own Codeforces." And
I see.
Then I found a guy who had some connections to faculty at the University of Osijek, and also some guy who was interested in co-organizing the stuff with me, Ustalu. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. He's this FFT on Codeforces, and after that we just agreed to make it happen. We found some authors. We somehow found some sponsors, and yeah.
I see.
And now we are preparing to announce the next station of the camp, probably around this week.
Oh, interesting. That's very interesting. So, is it a yearly event? I mean, does it happen every year or every few months?
It happens twice a year, in winter and in the autumn in September. So this year it already was in February, and we plan to host another session at the beginning of September.
I see. And who are your sponsors?
At the moment, our sponsors are Chain Street, Quantcore.
I see.
Quantcore mostly does some machine learning. Chain Street mostly uses some algorithmic trading, and we are also supported by ICPC Foundation.
ICPC Foundation.
And there is also Pioneer, which is a former MTech.
How much approximately you need to raise for a competition like this? Or for a camp like this, to be more precise?
If you consider our spendings, unlike most other events, we pay our actors for the contest, and we try to pay them well. So we usually pay at least 2,000 euros per contest. So there's 14,000, and there's also around maybe 10,000 to pay for the event expenses outside of our competition.
That's very interesting. And who other great competitive programmers are involved in OSHIC programming camp?
It depends from one camp to another. Like, we try to reach out to as much authors as possible, and unfortunately we don't have very much applications to be picky about it, but usually some nice people apply. Like, we had some legendary grandmasters setting competitions. Like, I think his name was Dilhan Salgado, a guy who is legendary grandmaster, but he also participates in contests using Python. We also have contests from Anton Trigub. He usually uses his problems from Zurich, ICPC regionals in Ukraine, and also we have a lot of contests from some other people like Jeroen Obrebiak, and now really a lot of people from all over the world.
And what are your future? Do you have any future plans for it? Do you want to extend it in future, etc.?
Maybe if we find someone who is willing to organize a mirror and to agree with a cost in some other region to make it. Like, for now, on our side, we are mostly focused on what's going on in OSHIC itself. But if there would be someone who is interested to set up a mirror, we can discuss, and maybe there would be. Like, I know that Moscow workshops had mirrors of their camps all over the place. Like, they had it in Vladivostok, in Barcelona, and in Muscat, all over the world. So maybe if we find someone, we can do it as well. But at the moment, we don't have any concrete plan for this.
Also, you ranked top 1 in Codeforces contribution at some points. How did that happen, and how was it? I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
I just wrote a lot of blogs that had a medium amount of upvotes. Like, usually when people go to top 1, they just write like a few blogs that get plus 1,000 or 2,000 of upvotes. My blogs usually have around 100 to 300 of upvotes. And I write about some technical stuff that I tried to do on my own. So basically, when I learn something new, I often like to write it down, and then I typically do it on Codeforces, because it's nice to get some contribution for this, and I think it's nice to share what I found out with other people.
What is the craziest thing that you have ever done in your life?
What is what?
What is the craziest thing that you have ever done in your life?
Let's think about it. I mean, I've done a lot of weird things, but probably.
Really?
Well, I'm not sure. I generally try to develop some useless skills. Like, I really like to whistle, and also try to learn a bit of Latin, but probably if you go about crazy things, maybe that I tried to so in my teen years I also went on roller skates a lot, and in particular I learned to do some slides. Slide is basically when you speed up and then you have you have a quick stop in some kind of artistic manner. So like you need to turn your wheels in such way that you slide on the wheels against the direction that you are going. And some of those slides, for example, something that is called a suicide slide, this is also something that they tried to do. This is basically when you go to the direction and then you go backwards and you put your front roller skate in front of your back one, then you slide like this, and your body slides like in the posture of some angel, and I think it's really impressive to look at. Maybe my description here is not as impressive as it really is, and probably going to repeat that stuff is maybe it was the crazy stuff that I did. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, what are your hobbies usually? What are your hobbies usually? What do you do?
I play video games a lot. I sometimes watch anime. I sometimes try to solve some problems from Project Taylor or Library Checker.
I see.
I generally like to learn the stuff. Like that.
What games do you play? What video games do you play?
I play a lot of games. I have a Steam library of around 450 games. I played maybe 200 of them. By games that I don't end up playing because I don't have time for that.
So you're a professional gamer.
Not much. I really like games in Metroidvania genres, so like Hollow Knight and something like that. Recently, I completed a game named Nine Souls. It is some hybrid between a Metroidvania and a game called Sekiro by From Software.
What animes do you watch? Can you recommend me some animes to watch? I mean, as someone who has never watched animes. I've recently watched a cartoon that was about Japan. It was an anime. I watched Blue Eye Samurai recently. Have you watched that one?
You watched what?
There's a cartoon named Blue Eye Samurai. It became very famous. And it was really good.
Blue Eye Samurai. No,
it is by Netflix. It is made by Netflix.
No, I don't know that one.
So what anime?
Made by Netflix, it means it's American. Is it right?
Yeah, it is American, but it is about Japan, a history of Japan. It's somehow similar to animes, but it's not. It's not an anime because it's not really made in Japan. Yeah.
I think usually you call anime only the stuff that is made in Japan. Sometimes people also use anime as a term for stuff that is not made in Japan but looks similar to anime. I don't know if it makes sense to be very conservative in this regard.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch this particular TV series, but I watched, if you're talking about American made, I watched Avatar, and also its successor about horror. Do you know that one?
Avatar?
Yeah, Avatar about, The Last Airbender.
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it. But it's not an anime.
I think it's made by Americans, so it doesn't classify as anime by the strict definition, but I think the style is also similar to what you would expect from an anime. And if we are speaking about pure animes, I just looked into my anime list.
Right.
And I have something that is called 10. There are 7 titles here. And the titles, let me just read them. First one is Mononoke Heim. This is Princess Mononoke, an anime by Miyazaki Studios. Since Miyazaki generally has a lot of really great animes, and they're usually not series, but but standalone movies. And Venus Mononoke is among my favorite ones. Then there is Angel Beats. It's something pretty short about school kids in the afterlife. Then there is something called Anatsu Kyoshitsu, Assassination Classroom. It's about a classroom where school kids try to kill their teacher because otherwise the teacher would kill the world. It is more engaging than it sounds, and it's not as violent as you may expect it. I think it's generally nice. Then the next one is One Punch Man. I really like the first season. Probably like this is the concept. It's an anime about superheroes, but the main character is some overpowered superhero that kills any of its adversaries with just one punch. So hero life is pretty boring to him. Then there is the second season of Assassination Classroom. Then there is Demon Slayer.
I see.
Is it Demon Slayer? Wait a second. No, it's not Demon Slayer. It is actually Rei Zero, an anime about it's an isekai, an anime about a person who died in real world and got reincarnated in some fantasy world, and there he has a power of return by death, means that when he is killed in that world, he then respawns at some early checkpoint. So basically, he is in a time loop until he resolves what caused him to be killed previously. And the last one in the list of the animals that was called 10 in my list is Sakamoto Desuga. It's an anime about I don't know how to describe this, but it's fun.
I see. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I saw a lot of people who are so much into animes, and they really enjoy it. Yeah, I personally haven't watched any. I got recommended many, but I haven't still had a chance to watch them. But yeah, I will definitely check that out. Check some of them out, definitely.
By the way, speaking about anime and crazy things that I did, recently in ETH Zurich there was a meetup of anime fans where they played a karaoke for some anime songs. So I went to that meetup and I went on stage, but instead of singing, I was whistling a song in karaoke mode. Maybe it's a bit crazier than what I did on roller skates.
I see. Interesting. Right now, I mean, when you see your past, are you happy that you started CP? If you go back, would you start it again?
Sure. I might not like competitions themselves, but I really like the concept of implementing some computer science stuff and then submitting to an automated testing. I think it's really nice that such stuff is, and I would do it again.
I see. Very interesting. So yeah, I also, when I see myself, I would also do that. I mean, CP was one of the best things that I personally entered in. I see. What is your favorite problem category? Which tag do you like the most?
Well, category. It changed from time to time. I think when I started, or maybe, but when I just started, probably I really liked some ad hoc problems. Then after that, I really liked some strict algorithms problems like subautomaton, palindromic trees, and stuff like that. And at this stage, probably my favorite problems are the ones involving polynomials and formal power series. So basically the stuff that typically use some Fourier transform to solve the problem.
And how do you see your future? What are the things that you wanna do in the future?
I wanna do.
You have not figured it out yet?
I have no idea. I just want to do the stuff I like, and I think at the moment I am mostly doing the stuff I like. So probably I'm fine doing this for some more time, maybe for a few more years, and after that I can think about it again.
So, do you think that you will stay in the field of software engineering and maybe continue maybe working at in this field and just become better in it, or do you think that you will pivot and you will do something else in future?
Well, what options do I have? Like basically, I can spend more time on organizing competitive program camps, but I feel like I already spent, like I don't see any way to spend more on that. Maybe I can spend a bit more time on doing some actual competitive program education, but I didn't look very deep into that.
I see.
Also, maybe I can go into some research, but I feel like it doesn't pay well, and also
Yeah, sure.
there are some other caveats like I generally don't like some things in academia. For example, like those metrics that they use, I feel like they provide some incentives for people to focus on the quantity of their research and not quality, and also don't really like how it is structured, like in terms of interactions between the researchers and publishers. So I'm not sure that I want to be a part of it, but who knows? Maybe sometime in the future I will try to get a master's degree and PhD, but I'm not sure yet.
I see.
And otherwise, I think I'm generally fine doing what I'm doing right now.
So does software engineering pay well? Because you said, for example, academia doesn't pay well. Is software engineering better compared to academia? And can you give us a rough range about how much software engineering pays, not individually for you, just a general range?
I mean, so basically, software engineering, like you can consider separate software engineering in academia, which is what I'm doing now, then software engineering in tech industry, and then software engineering in some trading companies. And in this regard, probably software engineering in tech companies like Jane Street, Hudson Trading, and such, they pay the most, and there is really some kind of numbers. I heard that people earning like, I don't know, 400,000 a year or more is not uncommon in this area, just doing software engineering job. Then in trust industry, like if you go to Google, I think typical ranges they may depend from they may depend on the region where you're working, but I think globally so around 1 to 200,000 is what you can realistically expect, and in academia it's usually somewhat on the lower part of that, or maybe lower than that.
I see. So you might see your future in academia as well. So you might check that out. You might do some research and see if you like it or not. It is an option, right?
I feel like if doing something for academia, I'm probably more comfortable doing it as a software engineer in the research group rather than a researcher. Like on one hand, you have some very limited career growth as a software engineer, because as a researcher you can become a professor eventually and probably get paid more than a software engineer. Definitely get paid more than a software engineer, but on the other hand, as a software engineer you probably get more than some low-level researchers and PhD students. So, and also you have less. I feel like you have less burden to do some unpleasant stuff, like to apply for grants and like something that I wouldn't enjoy, like doing some very non-technical work.
if you want to, this is something that I want to ask my guests. If you want to invite another person to be interviewed here as a guest, if you want to invite one person, who do you want to invite?
I would like to invite Elegia.
Who?
A person with a handle named Elegia on Codeforces.
I see. I'm not sure. Can you
So
send me his handle? His or her handle?
Elegia. Elegia.
Oh, Elegia. I see. I think
Yeah.
I've seen this
So
account.
the person that Umnik famously wrote that he doesn't know how their mind works.
He doesn't know how what works?
Umnik once made a blog in which he wrote the list of things that he doesn't know.
Oh.
And in this list there was a point how Elegia mind works.
Oh. That's very
So maybe if
interesting.
you invite Elegia for an interview and it actually happens, we can learn how their mind actually works.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I can try to understand how his mind works. Yeah, that is great. This was a very great interview. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your time, and I think
Thank you,
that
Tim.
we can do more collaborations in the future.
Yeah,
Thank
that would be
you.
great.
Thank you very much.